It's 2002, and I'm in grade 7 in the locker room changing after gym class. All the boys in my class are there too, huddled together talking about whatever it is that 12-year-olds talk about, video games, sports, movies. I'm off to the corner though, because I have my head down and I'm just trying to change and get out of there as fast as I can. And side note, if you've ever been a closeted gay boy in middle school, then you know the locker room and gym class in general is the scariest place on earth. The boys in my class decide that they're all gonna hang out together after school, so they pick up their bags and they get ready to head out of the room. But before they do, one of them spots me in the corner and says, "What about him?" The ringleader at the time, or the most popular boy in class, we'll call him Chad, looks at me and says, "What about him? He's a fucking loser." They pick up their bags and they leave the locker room. Those words hit me like a punch to the gut. And I sit down in the empty locker room and I kind of just want to crawl into a hole. It's the next year, and everyone is really excited because there's this cool new platform that just came out called MSN Messenger. I know you guys know what I'm talking about. And it's a way to stay in touch outside of school. I'm excited too because I think, maybe this is a way for me to put myself out there without actually having to put myself out there. So I sign up, and at first, it's good. It's not bad. Eventually, some of my classmates get their older siblings to add me, and I'm surprised, but I'm hopeful. Maybe these older kids think I'm cool. They start to send me messages, and my heart sinks. They tell me that I'm worthless, and that I'm ugly, and that I'm a loser. Things escalate, and one day one of the boys messages me and says that everybody would be a lot happier if I just killed myself. It's another punch to the gut. I'm devastated at this point, and I decide that I'm just gonna hide for the foreseeable future. I'm gonna strip my personality clean like a blank canvas and just fade into the background. It's high school now, and the taunting continues, but I've gotten really good at hiding. The thing about hiding, though, is that it gets lonely very quickly. In fact, the only thing that I have to keep me company is the voice in my head, which has become a sort of self-bully in and of itself, trying to preempt anything someone might say to me. The loneliness turns to depression and anxiety, but now it's first year university and I'm living off of campus for the first time, or I'm living on campus for the first time, away from home. But my depression, the isolation, the anxiety, it's gotten worse. In fact, I don't even feel comfortable leaving my dorm room to use the washroom because I am terrified of running into someone and hearing what they might have to say to me. I do, however, discover alcohol for the first time, and as many of us do, I start to drink a lot. I start to binge drink. I start to black out every time I drink, but at the time, I'm just trying to numb the feelings, and I feel worthless, so what does it matter what I do to myself, right? After one really bad night where I almost don't make it back to my residence, people around me start to get concerned. I start to get concerned. I think something has to change. It's second year, and I see a job posting on campus for a peer support worker. I apply, and I get the job. I'm ecstatic. There's minimal training. Like, seriously, it's like one PowerPoint presentation, you guys, that I get. My excitement quickly turns to nervousness, but September rolls around and we open for business. We have a small corner office in the Faculty of Arts building on campus with big, bright windows, and students start to use our drop-in services. The things they come to talk to me about vary. One boy comes in and he tells me that his roommate is really, really dirty and he just won't clean his dishes. Another girl comes in and she tells me that her relationship with alcohol has started to affect her grades, but it's the only thing that makes her feel like she fits in. One day, a young girl comes in, and she sits down across from me. And she's very quiet, but I can tell she's been crying. Eventually, she starts to tell me that she's an exchange student from China over here studying abroad, but the experience is unlike anything she could have ever thought. There's a lot of culture shock. She doesn't have very many friends. She's isolated. She misses her family, and she's even started to think that she is better off dead. I don't know what to say. I myself at this point am dealing with my own depression and suicidal ideation. I don't know what to say, so I just listen. And she talks. She talks to me for almost an hour and a half. And by the end of it, she seems different. She seems calmer, like a weight has been lifted off of her shoulders. She picks up her backpack and she thanks me and she leaves. That was the first time in my life that I firsthand saw the power of sharing. I had thought for so long the way that I would protect myself and keep myself safe was by hiding, but that wasn't the case. I also realized the power of listening for the first time as well. As these students came into my office to talk about their various struggles, I never knew what to say to them, but I quickly realized I didn't need to know what to say. I just needed to listen and hear their stories and validate and be supportive. I'm 27 now, I'm a young professional, and I get the opportunity alongside a few other people to create a new youth mental health charity. Make the youth mental health system better. The federal government gives us a very tall order and not a lot of a direction. We decide we're going to do this by embedding lived experience into the system. So we create Groundbreakers, a network of youth advocates, young people, all with their own challenges and struggles with mental health and substance use and addiction, but they're not hiding. In fact, they want to share their stories. They want to be agents of change. There's almost 400 of them now, so we gather them. We gather them in Ottawa, and then Montreal, and then Vancouver, and Toronto. We put them in front of decision makers, in front of service providers, clinicians, policymakers, funders. We give them a stage, and we hand them the mic, and we say, go up there and share your story, because that is how we're gonna make things better. And they do. There's a young girl from the East Coast who talks about how she's struggled with body image and eating disorders her whole life. There's a young boy from Northern Ontario who grew up on reserve, and he talks about how it was so difficult to graduate high school because his parents were addicts, and they didn't get to graduate high school, so they didn't want him to either. There's finally a young boy from Vancouver who shares that he's had depression his whole life but found healing through entrepreneurship. The experience of working alongside these young people and sharing their stories across the country is transformative. Not just for the people that we put them in front of, but for me too. I realize that I'm now in a sector where sharing about your mental health is not only encouraged and supported, but it is a powerful tool that can lead to better outcomes for other young people who are struggling. Taking that inspiration from those young people, I decide that I've been hiding for way too long. And I decide to open up about my struggles and my challenges with my mental health in my personal life and in my career. I realize that my story, my lived experience, is one of the best assets that helps me do my work. I also remember the look of relief on that young girl who came to see me so many years ago, and how she felt or seemed after she shared her story to me. I realized the more that I open up, the more I start to feel that sense of relief as well. So that brings me to today, standing here in front of all of you, and I really want to thank you all for letting me share a piece of my story. I still struggle with my mental health, and I probably will for a long time, But I am so, so grateful that I finally learned the power of sharing instead of hiding. Thank you.